Yes, 12th standard English novel, chapter number second, 4.2. 4.1 is all about the history of the novel, but we will learn the 4.2 to serve with the love. Okay, to serve with the love. This is very easy and you don't need to worry about it. Everything we will learn and I will explain you what is important and what is not. Okay, to serve with the love. Clear, everyone? So let's start. Let's start here. To serve with love. Okay. So the name itself is very easy. Like sir is like to with love. Yeah, Guru. Yeah. Like when I was in child, there are some teachers who are very, very brilliant. Okay, they are always happy and they are making the classroom happy. Okay, so here it is a novel. We will try and understand what is exactly Eustace Eustace Edward Ricardo Bradwith. Okay, so Eustace Edward Ricardo Bradwith. He was born in 26 Jan 1912 and to 12 December 2016. So he was born and he was that and he was known as the E.R. Bradwith and was a Guyanese. Guyana is a one country and was a Guyanese born British American novelist. Okay, so he was born in Guyana, and he became the writer and the novelist in Britain and in America. He was a writer, teacher, and diplomat, best known for his stories of social condition and racial discrimination. So he was a very famous writer. He was a teacher. He was a diplomat, but he is mostly known for his his stories, and his story is all about the societal condition and racial discrimination against black people. So his story is all about racial condition against the black people. What do you mean by racial condition? Racial means like whenever we are telling a group of people, whenever we are dividing them on the basis of their color, on the basis of their height, that is called as racial. So he is famous for his racial condition and social condition stories. He was author of one of the famous 1959 1951 autobiographical novel. So he had written the one of the autobiographical novel. The name is To Serve with the Love, which means his own story he has added in this autobiography. Okay, To Serve with the Love. He also wrote a kind of homecoming. He also wrote a kind of homecoming. He also wrote another book, A Kind of Homecoming, about his tour, about his tour of Africa, about his tour of Africa, and then A Choice of Straws, a novel set in London, and then Reluctant Neighbors, a memoir and treatise about racism. So such kind of books he had written. Okay, autobiography he had written. The name of the autobiography, To Serve with the Love, and his journey, A Kind with Homecoming. So this books he is written by him. Okay, Braithwaite, Braithwaite numerous writings primarily deal with the difficulty of being an educated black man. So his writings, all of his writing in his book is primarily with the difficulties of being an educated black man, a black social worker, a black teacher, and the simply a human being who found himself set of inhuman circumstances. So all of his books have one common theme, and that common thing is that how in the society a black man is suffering, how in the society a black man is suffering in different circumstances. And then To Serve with Love So what we are going to read now, the explanation is here. To Serve with Love is an autobiographical novel. Okay, so this is an autobiographical novel. The narrator is an engineer. Narrator, which means who are going to narrate the story. He is an engineer, which means A.R. Bradwell. He was an engineer, but to make both, ends meet, he accept the job of teacher is rough in a rough London. So he was an engineer, but to end the both end means he worked as a teacher in London. In London, East End School. The name of the school is East End School. East End School. The school is full of troublemaker students. The school is full of troublemaker students who were rejected from other school for their behavior. So he was an engineer, and he worked in London as a teacher, and then in that school, uh, all the students are troublemaker because the students are rejected from the other school for their behavior. And at the beginning, the narrator is ridiculed and bullied by the student. So in the novel, we will try and understand in the initial of the story, the narrator, which means this author, had irritated by his students, bullied by the student, but later his calm and demure and desire to see them succeed gradually earn him their respect. So the first, in the initial period, we will get to know that how the students are uh, irritating the teacher, and in the last we will get to know that how a man, how a writer, how this how his students are earn a respect for from him. Okay, so these are the characters are too many major characters we need to focus on. There are minor characters are also there. Okay, let's read the summary of the novel. What is the summary? To Serve in the Love is a work of fiction based on the life of the author E.R. Bradwell. So this novel is a fiction story. It is a real story which is based on the writer E.R. Bradwell life only. Okay, the main character over here is E.R. Bradwell. He works as an engineer in an oil refinery. So this story is all about the writer family, and he worked as an engineer in oil refinery company. Okay, and he served in the Royal British Air Force in the war. Okay, so he served himself. Two things we had got. He is a um, he is an engineer, and he served himself as a Royal British Air Force, and he is an engineer about oil refinery. Air Force in the war. After the war, being a black person, he was unable to find employment. So after the war happened, like because in the during the war he got the job in Air Force, but after the war he is not able to get the employment as a black person. As a last resort, he applied in school to become a teacher. He doesn't have any kind of option to get the job. So in the last, what happened, he applied to work as a teacher, to become a teacher. Surprisingly, he is accepted of the Greenland school. And surprisingly, what happened, he is accepted because he is not getting job according to his color. But surprisingly, what happened, he was accepted in school. The school name of the Greensland school in east of London, East End, and is set to teach senior class of the school, senior class of the school. Till now, we got to know in this paragraph that To Serve with the Love is a story which is based on the writer, and the writer was a engineer of oil refinery company and in the Royal Air Force. He served in during the war, and after the war he didn't get the job. He was struggling, and at the end he applied for the teacher in schools, and Greenland school accepted him, and he was set to teach the senior students. Okay, while reading the novel, we have understand that the time period in which the story takes place is very important. So whenever we are reading a novel, time period is very important. Okay, that time period is also important. So Braithwaite finds that even though he considered himself British and does serve in the Royal Air Force, the English does not consider him to be one of them. So E.R. Braithwaite thought that even even he consider himself a Britisher, but then also this English people will never going to be accept him who are living, and this makes Braithwaite bitter about the English and the colonialism as well as about his white student. So that's why he don't like to teach the English and colonialism ex- uh, and as well as about the white student also, because he was not accepted by the people who are living in British. Just take imagine yourself if you are an Indian, if you are going in another country like Japan, and the people will definitely laugh at you because you are looking very different. So people will laugh, okay? And here now the Braithwaite teaching position starts out roughly and he is empress time again. So teaching position he was started teaching, okay, very roughly, and he is embraced time and again. He consider his student disrespectful, ill mannered and mischievous, while his students consider him to be an arrogant outsider unfamiliar with the social environment. So when he starts teaching them, he considered the student that the students are disrespectful, students are ill mannered, so students are mischievous, but at the same time the students are thinking about him like he's unexpected, he is an outsider, okay, he is an outsider of social environment, okay, unfamiliar with the social environment which they gave grown up. The students harass him from day one. So students in a school, the the Greenland school harassed the ER Braithwaite from day one, okay, from day one, and slamming their decks during his lecture and using foul language. So how they are harassing? They while whenever the ER Braithwaite teaching in the classroom, they are slamming. They are making noise in the bench, on the bench, and then after that they are using the very bad languages. They are bullying him to a great extent. So in short, they are misbehaving with the teacher. Even the girl, even the girl student do not spare a moment to harass the Braithwaite. Even the girls are also harassing him. In a reaction to that, the Braithwaite verbally scolds the girl for acting in an unladylike manner and being unruly in the class. So when when the students are irritating and torturing him, even his reaction on that level, he was reaction reacting in that level. Boys are irritating, even the girls are also irritating him in the classroom. So he is reacting to the girls that unladylike manner and being unruly in the class. Okay. So when he understands his outburst has not gained him any respect and cooperation from the student, he changed his teaching and handling techniques, and so when he understood that like whatever kind of strictness he had applied in this classroom that not works, so he had decided that he will use a different techniques of teaching, and he decided to interact with them as though they are adults and respectable person. So he decided that I will I will teach them, I will treat them as an adult they are. He requires he requests every girls referred to he requires every girls to be referred as a miss, and that his students call him that his student call him sir. And at the first, the students find this level of difference ridiculous and unnecessary. However, they come around after only a few weeks, completely changing both their hygiene and their attitudes towards one another. And this marked the success of Braithwaite in handling the students in a very amicable way. So here, what happened when uh, when the ER Braithwaite when ER Braithwaite understood that understood understood that these students will never going to be understand like what is like how to respect each other. Even they are not respecting each other, even they are not respecting the teacher. So he had to use one technique, and that technique was very simple. He wants the girls to be referred as a miss and boys to be referred as a sir. So in initial time, in the starting period, these boys and girls are understood this is unnecessary, it is useless. But only a few weeks, what happened, they kept themselves a hygiene, they respected each other because of saying this in an amicable way. To increase the class, to increase the culture exposure, to increase the class culture exposure, he takes them in filter. So not only he decided to teach in the classroom, to getting the more exposure of his student, he decided to take the students take the student to the field trips and excursion excursion to museum and theaters, excursion to museum and theaters, to everyone surprise many of the students have never been. Okay, so till now I want to say that firstly, he was irritated by a student. The students are not respecting him, and even he is reacting in a bad way. So he decided that he referred to the girls, miss, and to the boys, sir. So they are respected each other. They became hygiene. So they not only that, he decided to teach them to outside in the field trips and excursion. Okay, excursion to museum and theaters, to everyone's surprise. A white female teacher. There is a one white female teacher, the Gillian Blancard, accompanies the class of on this excursion, and uh, this marks the beginning of the friendship between the Blancard and the Braithwaite. Similarly, Braithwaite's relationship with his students tested many a times. Okay, so here what happened? There is a one lady teacher. There is a one white lady teacher helped the E.R. Braithwaite on the field trips and excursion. So the white female teacher and the Blancard and E.R. Braithwaite, so they became a good friends while on the field trips. And here similarly the Braithwaite, the relationship with his student, okay, with his student is tested many a times. Okay, and although his students frequently disappoint and hurt him, although the Braithwaite student disappoint him and hurt him, he learns to forgive them. The students constantly surprise him with their maturity, empathy, and knowledge. So here, what happened in between? Because of irritation, he was hurting, but he never bothered. He had forgive them, and sometimes what happened? E.R. Braithwaite was totally surprised. So in between, to see their maturity, to see their empathy, and to see their knowledge. Sometimes he was surprised. Another facets of another another phase of the story which greatly affects its narrative lies in the heavy history of colonialism. So another part of the story is more in the novel. We are trying to understand the colonialism, because at the time colonialism is darkness, consequences, mental and physical trauma that increase Braithwaite hatred and their wrath for British. So what happened? Another side, there was a war. So because of the war, it is impacted very badly for the black people over there. So there was so much hatred he was getting in that country, and he constantly feels the prejudicial prejudicial effects of colonialism while living in England after World War II. So he started feeling uncomfortable while living in England after World War II, and this negative experience frequently shape this negative experience frequently shape his thoughts and action. This negative feeling, like after the way he was feeling, he was a black people, he was hated. So these negative feelings shape his thoughts and actions. Action. Braithwaite is surprised and shocked by the condition this in which these students live, and also physical trauma of the war that can be seen throughout his teaching environment. So Braithwaite was very shocked by the condition in which how the students are living and their physical trauma, and three, throughout his teaching environment, because he got the job after the World War. So at that time the situation was already not good. But then also he was totally surprised, like how these people are living the physical trauma. Okay, and he had seen the whole situation throughout his teaching environment. Okay, summary of the novel we have understood, and summary of the novel I want to summarize again. So here in the summary of the novel they are explaining about the E.R. Brathwaite and his students are irritating him, and he had used the different techniques, and he had taken the took them to the field, and while taking them on the field, there was a one another lady teacher came, and another phase they are talking about the goldenism. Okay, and then theme of the novel. Now the theme of the novel. Student teacher relationship, prejudice, and racism are the major themes of the novel. So, theme first of all, we need to understand that what is the theme of this English subject. The theme of the English subject, you should know the listening, speaking, and writing. So, theme of the novel is all. What is the central idea of the novel, of this novel? There is a student teacher relationships explained very well. We can understand the student teacher relationship in this novel, the prejudice and racism. Okay, prejudge, prejudice we will see, prejudgment, and then racism we will see are the major themes of the novel. Three things. The one is the prejudice, racism, and student teacher relationship. E.R. Brathwaite gets a job. Okay, gets a job of a teacher in a rather rough and notorious school. He got the job in a school, and he finds that the student belong to the background that not suitable for learning and their overall developmental progress. So he first of all he got the job in school, and that school students were very notorious, very mischievous, and he finds that the students are belong to the family, the that kind of background, like they are not suitable for learning and overall development progress. He notices that the students are in no mood to change their attitude and behavior. So in the story, he noticed that the students are will never going to become okay. They are never going to become okay. Okay, like they will never going to change their attitude. The Brathwaite with his novel, the Brathwaite with his novel and creative ideas, innovative techniques, and understanding the student psychology ultimately wins their hearts in no time. So his story, so Brathwaite wins all the psychology of the students, won him the hearts of the student in no time. Though though he was bullied, harassed mentally and physically, and tortured many times, he didn't lose his patience and continue completely implementing his novel ideas and techniques that help him to bring a significant change in the student life. So here what happened, he notices that his students are not good, but he implemented his novel ideas, and he had a strong belief that one day the students will become very brilliant. So racism prevalent in Great Britain during the mid 1940s. So here what happened? Racism was totally spreaded in the 1940s, which means during the World War, the time period to the time period during which the To Serve with the Love takes place. So this novel takes place at that time, and at that time there was totally racism in Britain. Is a primary significance of the in the novel. So the narrator cites a repeated incident in which he experienced the racism of White Britain, including the encounter on the bus at the job of Green, Grinslade School, when searching for housing as a restaurant with his girlfriend, and so on. So here he had observed that in Great Britain, racism was everywhere. It was prevalent. It was spread everywhere. While on the bus, he encountered the racism. While on the restaurant, he encountered. While for searching for whom, he encountered the racism. Okay. At the outset, the Brathwaite is struck by the unexpected of such prejudice. So Brathwaite is struck by the unexpectedness of such prejudice. He was brought up in a British Guyana, and he waived himself as a British citizen. Okay, so here what happened? Uh, so Brethwaite was struck in an unexpected situation. He was brought up by the British people, British Guiana people, and viewed himself as a British citizen and not as a black British citizen in a British colony. When he served the Great Britain and when he served himself in the Royal Air Force, that gave him a respect and esteem in the society. The day he left the job, he finds himself to be an outsider. So here what happened? He find himself in the novel that he is saying that when he got the job in the British Army, so he was feeling that I am a British person. But when the day he left the job, he called he found himself totally he is an outsider. Okay, so we are basically talking about the theme. The theme of the poem will be this. Okay, so in the novel you will find such things. What I'm saying. And then Brethwaite, in the novel, the Brethwaite is extensive experience and education was no use in job interview where he is informed that the job has already been filled and he is overqualified for it. So he find himself while taking a job like he is overqualified for it, and this heightens the Brethwaite's sense of betrayal for the British. And interestingly, he never lashes out physically and only rarely does he so verbally. He exhibits patience and endurance at times, and at others, he describes the way rage inside him and transforming the hatred so strong. So Braithwaite find the student Greenland School to be a bit notorious rough, but proper care of treatment achieve success and desire. So in short, I want to say the theme of the poem will be this. So the last theme of the poem is that he is in terms of education he got the job in school but he was overqualified and in the initial period his students were very notorious, but finally his students became the successful person. I'm stopping here.